Dueling Visions by Brian Smyers. As I have mentioned in previous posts and interviews, it has been a long time since I've been able to see out of my left eye. The lens with the cataract was removed 4 weeks ago, but the cataract had spread to the capsule around the lens. However, as the inflammation has lessened, now I'm beginning to see images, and lines on the road are becoming visible. I can see the fingers on my hand with my arm extended. However, my retina doctor told me months ago to be careful, because when I begin to see again, I will be getting false information from the eye. He has spoken the truth. The lines on the road from the left eye do not line up with the lines on the road I see with my right eye. They vary as much as 30 degrees. They are not crisp, they are wavy. And I have to be wary and remember to trust my right eye. I often close my left eye while driving and use the blind spot mirrors religiously. My left eye is lazy. It hasn't been able to focus on anything for months. It'll take a while for my brain to use these two perspectives and interpret them as one reality. Until then, I must be patient with myself, laugh at my own lack of depth perception, and keep a positive attitude that things will eventually be okay. I feel there is a metaphor here that can be applied to the American people in terms of skewing information in dueling political echo chambers. It is going to be a while before we can properly focus again. And during this time, neither side trusts the other perspective. I do think the right are beginning to go through some buyer's remorse, and that the remorse will be greatly increased as mass layoffs occur from the federal government. My hunch is that this term is going to be so heated and divisive that the public will want to come together when it is all over. But I also know that bad blood just solidifies hatred, so this country may be coming to an important crossroads. Will we acknowledge our shared experience? Or will we vilify those who think differently and contribute to society in ways that we literally refuse to comprehend? During Trump's first term, I thought there was a missed opportunity between white libertarians and Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter, at its core, was about giving accountability to those awarded with qualified immunity. The name Black Lives Matter was because they felt that Black lives did not matter to the people and governments of the United States. And it was a reminder that they do. The libertarian think tank, Cato Institute, sided with them because when somebody has qualified immunity, they can get away with anything, including murder, so long as it is when they are on the clock. Officers of the peace need always be held accountable, which was not happening with due process. However, in 2016 and 2017, those who thought libertarianism was really about hating liberals and waving a Gadsden flag found themselves swearing never to watch another NFL game because people kneeling as an act of asking their country to do better was deemed offensive and not patriotic. This demonstrated that not listening to the concerns of and in favor of the demonization of others is easier than achieving an understanding, even when there are common perspectives found across the political aisle or socio-economic groups. Just as my brain does not understand what my left eye sees, the people of the United States as a whole do not understand their own perspectives. The average citizen does not care to understand the plight of other citizens outside of their friends or social groups. The people of the United States are very selfish in this regard. It prevents us from understanding the simple truth that people are people. We need an empathy-first politics. And empathy first is different than calling your constituency victims of scapegoats. It is about understanding people's needs and meeting them. It fights against the concentration of wealth and power. And I believe a culture of empathy and decency is the only way we will tone down the rhetoric and move on from the Trump era. Somewhere along the line, there will also need to be accountability and forgiveness. But these things must occur before we get to a point where we are a fair people living in a fair country. Should we achieve that, our vision will be 2020.
All right. Welcome back, everyone, to the Ascendant Project podcast. I am here with Brian. My partner, as always, is Brian.
Yes. One day that'll change.
Yeah, one day, hopefully. My name is Julius Knapp, and Brian has written an article, Dueling Visions, and we are here to put them through the fire.
Yeah.
All right, so Brian, why don't you start just by summarizing in your own words what the article? Just go ahead and summarize it.
All right. So basically I make a metaphor with my medical issues I have with my vision, and how America is struggling with its own vision. You have people on the right who sees things one way, and you have people on the left who sees things another. But the fact of the matter is we're all Americans, and we need to incorporate both somehow, some way. But neither side trusts the information that the other is putting out.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good summary.
Yeah.
Definitely, you absolutely get into a little bit more in the article, and I encourage anybody listening to read the article, or especially to listen to your recording. I feel like you get so much more context.
Yeah.
When you hear the recording.
I've been combining these lately into a single track.
So. Yeah. Okay, great.
With a little triangle ding between.
Ding.
Yes. We need to work on an intro, by the way. We do.
We're working it out. We'll feel it out. I think we're getting close to something.
Yeah, you need also maybe some intro music or something.
Right.
I don't know. Probably not that one. But
not that one. That was probably trademark. All right, so
maybe for the Kentucky Derby, but
yeah. So what inspired you to write the article? Like specifically, I'm thinking, how did you come to see, no pun intended, the link between these two ideas? How did you identify this metaphor?
Well, I mean, you have the left and the right, and you got the yeah. I mean, I felt like it was just sitting there to be grabbed.
Uh-huh.
It's blatantly obvious. That we just don't see the world the same way. Mm-hmm. And I was like thinking about that as I was driving down the road, and I mean, and this is audio, so you guys can totally see my hand motions so perfectly. But my left eye, the line is nice and straight, and my right eye, for the very same line, it's like that.
Yeah.
And and it's partly because the eye is lazy and everything else.
Yeah, so there's quite askew.
Yeah. So, and maybe there's another metaphor there too. Being uninformed, being lazy, would also skew your vision and send bad information. But it's hard to figure out is our information we're getting partisan? How thick is our echo chamber?
Uh-huh.
Because it's hard. It's very easy for me to say that how I see the world is the way it is, but the fact of the matter is that's only true for me. I'm sure a Republican will see it completely different and fully believe it 100% that the way they see the world is right, and there will always be differences. I would love to be able to overcome those differences and achieve a single idea of how things actually are.
Sure.
But
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah.
Have America achieve consciousness in a way. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, all right. Well, so let's get into some of the themes then. So, I imagine your thoughts on the expression "it's a matter of perspective" are quite personal and for you quite visceral.
Yeah, and I think that's the way it is for everyone.
I mean, do you think you have a kind of unique perspective, so to speak, on that expression? Like what?
My arrogant side says yes, I have a unique perspective, but my self aware side understands that that a lot of how I see the world is from information given to me by others. So, am I really that original in my thought? You know, am I really, you know, doing some great analysis, or am I subconsciously repeating something I've heard somewhere else?
Sure.
Um, I mean, it's unconscious plagiarism. I mean, it's a thing.
It is a thing. Absolutely is a
Totally
thing.
is a thing. Group
So,
thing.
but I mean, there are absolutely people who believe there is a uh, a clear and universal truth, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
right? So,
I think the closest we come to it is math.
okay.
But anyway, go on.
No, I mean, uh, your experience though would see, especially since you've written the article, kind of making this metaphor. Would you say there is such a thing as a universal truth? If not,
I once participated in a Bible study called The Search for Truth.
uh-huh.
And with a 32-ounce bottle of IBC root beer and a pixie stick that was probably 32 inches tall.
Always a great way to start the evening when you're 8.
I felt I proved it that night in a massive sugar rush.
Uh-huh.
Um, and if I remember my argument right, there has to be a universal truth because there's communication.
Okay.
In order for me to convey an idea to you, I have to choose words that convey meaning, and you have to take that meaning. You have to take those words and understand the same meaning.
Yes.
If that occurs, then there's a truth there.
Okay.
So if there's communication, then there's universal truth. I came up with that. Bouncing off the ceiling and the walls.
Nice.
But, it's... So, I mean, and that's just taking that, that communication is occurring. It doesn't even matter if the facts are wrong and what you're communicating or not. The fact that we have the ability to communicate, to me shows that there has to be a universal truth.
Okay. So would you say that your eyes are speaking the same language?
Right now, not.
No? Okay.
I mean, I'd say they probably are, come to think of it, because I do recognize the information of what it's seeing. I am interpreting what it's saying.
Yeah.
It's been verified that, there's the cataract had spread to the capsule.
Right.
So the cataract surgery didn't really do too much in my favor. But it, but I am still getting information out of there. And I'm still able to interpret that information. So I would say, yeah, it is the same language. It's just the message is bad.
Okay. Okay. So then, expanding that, to your metaphor, are we all speaking the same language politically? Are we?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we're speaking the same language politically.
What kinds of could you identify any differences between how we how we have our conversations, how we engage in political discord.
I think our priorities are different.
Uh-huh.
Um, and your priorities definitely color how you see the world.
Sure.
So if the priorities are different and your perspective's different because of your priorities, you're going to be hearing different things from the message from the other side. You know, I I don't know if I sent this to you or not, but I guess it was on Facebook or whatnot.
Uh-huh.
There was like three Americans were in a diner in Canada, um, and they were talking to the waitress, and the waitress said, "Yeah, I'm just really thankful I'm in Canada, where because I'm about to have a baby, and I don't want it to bankrupt me." And one of the Americans said, "Why should I pay for your baby?" And the waitress, not missing a beat, said, "Because I'm paying for your 3 heart attacks."
Uh-huh.
And the conversation just ended.
Right.
You know, I feel the way I feel the right is set up to where you take care of yourself first and you take care of others next.
Mm.
And I feel the left is set up saying take care of others as much as you can and take care of yourself equally. And I don't see, because so there's a stronger sense of community on the left, whereas the right is teaching personal responsibility is the strong thing.
Mm.
And I feel at least pre-Trump, I'm not sure how Trump has affected this on the right, but as far as classical conservatism, I feel this is the way it was kind of set up.
Mm.
And the community comes through your church on the right, whereas on the left, the community, taking care of each other at the same time, that's done through government programs and stuff like that. So,
Okay.
So the care for the community on the right would wind up being spiritual, whereas the care for the community on the left is more practical.
Well, let's go back a little bit.
I know I threw a whole bunch of
You
crap
threw a
out
lot.
there.
But I want to challenge your assumption a little bit.
Okay.
So going back to your joke, right? I mean, I think it's a fairly apt description or summary of the kinds of conversations we've had now over the past few decades. Do you think in that situation that the truckers left that restaurant with maybe a little bit different perspective on why they should support these kinds of programs?
My thing, I would love that. That's the optimistic point of view.
Sure.
Given
I know this
today's
is a
environment,
hypothetical,
given today's environment, they probably just left pissed, saying, "Hey, that was a rude waitress. I'm not going to tip her anything." It's
Well, let me go back a little bit more, right? So
Okay.
when the ACA was being debated,
Mhm.
right, the Affordable Care Act,
Mhm.
Obamacare,
Yep.
for the uninformed or whatever, they did lots of studies, and this was like well known at the time that they would ask people, do you support Obamacare? Do you support the Affordable Care Act? And they would say no. But then you would ask about like individual provisions, and the bulk of the Affordable Care Act was supported by the majority of Americans, right? Individual provisions such as being allowed to stay on your parents' health care a little bit longer, or not having pre-existing conditions, those kinds of things. So, going back to that like it being a matter of perspective and being able to communicate and talk about things in the same way, it does seem that if if we can kind of like bridge that divide and talk about things in similar terms, to say like let's not talk about the Affordable Care Act. Let's just talk about these individual provisions. Then maybe we can kind of come to a common perspective. Like, would you agree or?
Possibly. I mean, it gets to the concept of dropping of labels. It's there. I didn't use the term tribalism in this post.
Uh-huh.
I probably should have.
Okay.
But the tribalism is so strong that people just do not trust the perspective outside of the tribe. Yeah. Does that answer?
I mean, I think it kind of touches on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still think I see where outside of once you take away the labels, once you,
because I do remember getting into a Facebook discussion with a friend of mine from Georgia about the ACA.
The always friendly and civil Facebook.
Yes.
Right.
And he had stated during the debate, the biggest problem is that we really need more competition. We need a marketplace. And he was arguing against the Obamacare. I was like, well, that's part of Obamacare is to have the market,
right?
Have an open marketplace.
Yeah.
But he was arguing against it while making the point of something that's actually in it. Yeah. And it was for me, it was a great case of where if it had the Obamacare label on it, and therefore it was bad. It didn't matter the details that he didn't know was in it. He was already resistant to it because it came from Obama. He might not have realized that was why, but for me, that interaction proved that was why.
Okay.
He also said something that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, is that, we need an American solution for an American problem. And I'm like, yeah, so you should throw away what the rest of the world has learned because we're Americans.
Right. We
got to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
It doesn't really make sense, but I mean, I did respect the sense of patriotism for that at the very least, but but I didn't. Come on, man. Knowledge is knowledge.
Yeah.
You should go with what people have learned.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with you there. So like keeping with the metaphor, does being able to label something as being left or right eye impact your ability to see?
I sometimes do close my left eye.
Yeah, okay. I think actually you do mention that.
Yeah, because I know I'm getting bad information.
Right.
But that, so, I mean, and such a thing of, there's so much balance, nuance, gray area involved, because you don't want to, you need to get information from both sides. But if one side is like giving you false information, you'll want to shut it off, But every source that you don't like that you're shutting off is just also increasing your echo chamber. So, it's the right, seems, they've hated the fact checkers or whatnot. But
okay.
The thing is my hunch is that there's some really good ideological and philosophy stuff there that I'm not open to because they're horrible at the facts, so I'm still missing out on some good theory.
Yeah, I think I've had the same experience that, but I think maybe this should be a theme for another article for me, for you, for us. That you have to be generous with your whoever you're engaging in these kinds of discussions, right? And assume that they what's the expression? Assume ignorance before malice, and it can be while it's frustrating to have a conversation with somebody who maybe is less informed or differently informed. I think it's incumbent upon you as as a participant to kind of like be generous and say, okay, you've made a case, and I'm going to assume that I don't know, like if we're arguing the trolley problem, I'm going to assume that you choosing to send the trolley down the path where it kills only one person does not mean you care less about the 5 people on the other train, right?
Right.
So yeah, no, but I think I've had that same experience where it's you're kind of almost arguing the same point,
Mm-hmm.
but you're still yelling at each other for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I understand that. So I think something that came to mind a lot. Maybe not. Well, at least when you make that observation, I was reminded of Kellyanne Conway.
Alternative facts.
Alternative facts.
I hated that comment when it came out. I was yelling at the TV, but at the same point in time,
But you came to like it, if I recall. You came to appreciate the perspective.
Here I am writing this article.
Yep.
About just that.
Exactly.
I'm not sure if alternative facts is I think she fumbled on the word facts. Or maybe she didn't fumble on the word facts. But, facts are facts. Math is math.
Sure.
Things that happen is what happened. You can use propaganda, you can spin it, you can do whatever, but in the end, the event is still there. But what I think is what is more true is alternative perspectives.
Okay.
And I don't want to go so far as alternative reality, but definitely alternative perspectives. Like if there's a definite change in school of thought of how you interpret events. It's.
Let me go back. Okay, so you mentioned. I want to give you 2 examples. You mentioned math. Math is math.
Math is math.
Yeah, people. You can't disagree on when a certain event happened.
Yes.
But in math, we do have we have these sort of axiomatic systems, is what we call them, right? And in those systems, for set theory is probably the most famous example. Any mathematician would know exactly what I'm getting to. But you have I'm trying to remember the name of the axiom specifically. Axiom of choice. The axiom of choice. That when you take to its logical conclusion, allows you to take a solid sphere, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dissect it in a very special, very very specific way, such that you can then have 2 balls that would be the exact same mass as the previous ball.
Hang on. So say that again, because my mind jumped. My mind totally jumped, and so I totally missed half of it because of where my mind jumped to.
All right, Flatland.
Flatland.
Yeah.
Have you read Flatland?
I read a different version, but it's the same. It was the same concept. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
All
can't
right.
remember the name of the one I read, but I loved it. It was
Yes.
yeah.
So, for those of you listening, all three of you,
Right.
Flatland is a book that I read after high school. A friend of mine, Greg Seaver, and I we were at FCC, but total extracurricular. We read this book called Flatland, and it is completely about perspective, of an entire world, that's on a two-dimensional piece of paper, and so, from the point of view of a point looking at a circle, the in Flatland, that point would see a line because it can't see the top. It can't see it going around. It just sees it going across. And it was full of things like that. And if a sphere fell through a sheet of paper, it would start off as a point, get to a bigger circle, and then get down. Things like that. And it dealt with the entire society. If I remember right, there were like triangles and stuff in it. It's been a long time since I've read this.
Yep. No, you're doing a good job of summarizing it. I'm trying to find, as you're talking, I'm trying to find the version that I read. But yeah.
And so it makes the analogy that, what happens if, us three-dimensional beings in a fourth-dimensional something, shape or whatever, passes through what we see. A four-dimensional sphere, we would see a point going into a sphere.
Yeah.
Et
So I mean, there's absolutely that. I mean, kind of bringing it back around. There's this as a matter of perspective. There's also in relativity. One of the fundamental tenets of relativity is that two independent observers in different inertial reference frames can disagree about when an event occurred or the observation of an event.
You know why Einstein liked the state of West Virginia?
Why?
Everyone is relative.
We just lost all our West Virginia listeners, Brian. And just to seal the deal.
Just to seal the deal.
If
Who does West Virginia make fun of?
If those
anyway?
kids
Kentucky?
could read, they would be very upset.
Oh my gosh. Afford a computer.
Yep.
Anyway, who does West Virginia make fun of?
Yeah, I don't know.
My hunch is it's Kentucky.
It's got to be.
It's got to be Kentucky.
Yeah.
Who is the armpit of America? I mean, because I think Tennessee makes fun of Kentucky, and Kentucky makes fun of Tennessee. So I think it actually ends with Kentucky. I might be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't have any relatives.
I'm sure
in that
people in Louisville feel differently, but they probably feel the same about the Appalachian part of Kentucky.
Yeah. Yeah, probably.
So, anyway.
Now, I mean, of course, I'm kind of like taking this hypothetical into an area that wasn't really meant to go.
Yeah.
With bringing up science and math, but I only bring it up just to say that two perspectives could be equally correct.
Mm-hmm.
On when discussing certain fact, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of alternative facts is maybe not so outlandish. Two people can have equally relevant perspectives.
Right.
Would you say that's accurate?
Well, yeah.
It's almost like asking,
you have two different
which is more
perspectives,
correct, your left or right eye?
Well, I know for a fact my right.
Well, I mean, right.
But I mean, it's going back to my sugar high induced absolute truth.
Right.
Um,
Your 8-year-old LSD trip.
no, I wish. No, no. This was college, my friend.
Oh.
This was at the Baptist Student Union.
Okay.
And at Georgia Southern University.
Nice.
No, this was, which, by the way, that Bible study started off with Pontius Pilate asking, "What is truth?" Reading that verse. Let me jump to something slightly different.
Okay.
Java, the developer.
Okay, good.
What is the absolute truth between two computers communicating, with that protocol? Well, I guess that's more of a language, but yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Or TCP/IP with that protocol.
Okay.
Is there an absolute truth that's involved in?
And TCP, I think TCP would argue yes. That's why they have checksums, and you're allowed to request packets to be resent, and yeah.
And so it deals with the truth of computer language.
Hello, thank you for visiting the library today. If you're here for the Dungeons and Dragons Club,
This recording is all right.
I'm just going to leave it in there.
Yeah,
I'm just going to leave it in there.
You have to. All right.
All right. So
if anybody is listening to this, they can. They know. Well, did they say where we were?
So
they know they can find us
in the library.
In the library.
So I cast a class 5 spell of knowledge on you.
Oh boy.
So they're dealing with computer programs and protocols, and in the end, it gets down to reduced to what?
Bits, bytes.
Yes, binary.
Electrical. Okay.
1 or a 0, on or an off. It's there or it ain't.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Is that the absolute truth of anything? Did we teach machines the absolute truth before we comprehended it ourselves? Something either is or it isn't. Is that the absolute truth?
Well, I mean, if we're going to start to get down to like physical properties, then I'll just return to my example that two independent observers can disagree.
Well, let me go ahead and cast a level 10 knowledge spell on you then.
Oh boy, bring it!
Quantum computing. There goes the ones and the zeros.
There goes the ones and the zeros. Yep. Now we're all
all over
land.
the place.
Yep.
Yeah. Quantum physics.
Yep.
Is everything there or isn't there? Well, quantum physics says yes and no at the same time.
Yeah.
It's
where's the quantum flatland that we can?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I told you the one electron theory, right?
I mean, I've heard of the one electron theory, but you almost look like are you about to make a joke?
No.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. The one electron theory is that there's only one electron in the whole universe. And
right. It's zipping about.
It's zipping about, but it's going forward and backward in time.
Right.
So that way it's everywhere at once. Yeah.
Yep.
And the reason for that is because unlike protons and neutrons that vary in mass ever so slightly, but they vary, the electron weighs the same everywhere. So they I guess it's the Highlander theory of physics.
Yep.
There can be only one.
There could be only one. Exactly.
Anyway, I've totally sabotaged this interview. Go on.
Oh, it's certainly more fun. All right. Well, so okay, but I think I've gotten your opinion on the alternative facts, expression and what that means.
Yeah, it's very quantum physics. I believe in it, and I don't.
Sure. Fair enough. All right. Well, continuing on with the article, you then get into this kind of shall we say, uneasy or unlikely alliance, it would seem, between the Cato Institute and BLM.
Yes, and actually, once this article is published, at the bottom of it, you will see a link to the Cato Institute talking about qualified immunity. And I will also, I haven't decided I will or not, but I might also link a YouTube to where, I guess it was at Trump's first inauguration, through the crowds or whatnot, there was a big rally. And one of the leaders of Black Lives Matter got on stage and made his case amongst the booths and all that, but he was like trying to reach out, and he wound up getting a whole bunch of flack for that. Speaking to a MAGA crowd. But yeah, I mean, I think I was made aware of that primarily, and I loved exploring that from a book titled "Love Your Enemies" by Arthur C. Brooks, I think is his name.
That sounds right, but I don't know specifically.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I really appreciated the juxtaposition between the two.
Yeah.
That the kind of like strange bedfellows, so to speak, of these two, that might disagree most other times.
But it's interesting how so many libertarians don't see qualified immunity as a problem.
Well, we say I say quote unquote libertarians because I think there are quite a few who identify as libertarian that
who really aren't.
Right. Yes. Yeah. But having said that, I mean having an armed official be able to kill someone and not get charged, isn't that the definition of tyranny? Well, all right. I'll take the alternative view. Is it is a person allowed to defend themselves? Huh?
I said, okay, Kellyanne. Well, that's the thing. I mean, when you're at a traffic stop and
challenge produces growth. I'm helping you grow as a person, Brian.
I mean, there's a whole. If we take at face value, of a cop who pulls over somebody and shoots somebody by accident because I thought they were reaching for a gun when they weren't. They didn't have a gun on them or in the machine or anything, or they were doing what the officer told in some cases. If you have a gun, it just goes straight to show you that having a gun does not take away any fear whatsoever. Because if that officer didn't have fear, and they would not have shot them, unless it was out of pure malice. It's and so many of these cases, like for instance, Freddie Gray. I think I remember this. He died in police custody, being driven around the city without charges. He was just on one of those rides. And a lot of times, like when they, or with George Floyd or anybody else, they're like, well, this person had a criminal record, which usually didn't come out until like a day or two after he had already died, and the police did not look up his criminal record when they shot him. It's you're injecting facts after the fact that were not known during the situation.
Right.
And saying, well, then he deserved it, and that's just a complete mark of apathy. It's that your life doesn't matter. If you are killing somebody and then are saying after the fact, well, he was a criminal, he deserved it, then that person's life didn't matter to you to begin with. It's
okay. Yeah. I take your point.
A lot in that. I mean,
there's a ton to unpack, and we're not going to get into all of it now.
No.
But I mean, I will say, going to the. I'll ask you like a really simple question. Does okay? I'm looking at this piece of paper, right? Does me telling you that it's white have more information than me telling you it's not black and it could only be one of two colors?
White is specific.
Sure.
So I would say specific information is probably
Here's a better
more
example.
information.
Better example. Okay, let me. Does me telling you I flip a coin? Does me telling you that it landed on heads give you more information than telling you that it's not tails? This is a terrible analogy.
Yeah, because it's binary.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
If it was a quantum coin.
Sure. But I mean,
my Bitcoin did not land on heads.
Right. Well, I concede that I deliberately set up this hypothetical. But I make it only to say that if you look at these, there are police shootings every day,
Mm-hmm.
right? And people dying from police shootings every day,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you've given me some examples of instances where police shootings were maybe suspect at best.
Yeah.
And other cases where it was just outright, or blatantly unwarranted.
Yeah.
But again, taking the opposing side, this ignores all the instances where police shootings happened and were justified or were warranted, or where somebody did look up, they got the license, they went back to their car, they ran determined that yes, this is a person with a criminal record, and then they go back to the vehicle and we'll just say that what happens.
Yeah.
Are those instances still unjustified to you? Like how?
Well, there's another thing, and I didn't stick this in the article, and I need to find the source for this. So I know I'm not just making up statistics, but I had heard, and this is how I remember it anyway, that like 95% of police shootings do not get charged. And when they do get charged, 95% of police shootings, they get acquitted. Mm-hmm. And the ones who don't, all the fines get paid for by the state, not the cop. So, I mean, and that's when it happens civilly. And when those, and George Floyd, Trump wants to pardon his killer, which, that will totally reignite the streets. But that was like the one case where justice actually happened. Mm-hmm. And, there's so many protections for the cops. Like if a cop gets, let go from the force from bad behavior, another district will just pick them up and not care. It's the good old boy system. It's still alive and well. It's the thin blue line. There's no accountability because they just look after their own. It's tribalism with guns.
So before we get too far, I know yeah. I don't want people listening to this to think that this is we're engaging in any kind of like gotcha moment. I know no. We're trying to understand where you come from. Yes. Right? Like Is this a
good call to take a step back? Yep.
Yeah. Is this an issue that you would say has affected you personally?
Only in terms of people I know and who I work with. A friend of mine won't go to North Carolina anymore because he was pulled over and kept in the car for an hour and a half, I think, with his family in the car. So they had to sit in the car for 90 minutes, and finally he told the cop, "I'm not coming back," and that's when I let him go. And that happened in the 1980s. It's been 40 years, and he hasn't been back, even though he was visiting family there. It's. I mean, it's two different systems. I mean, and people might say, young people, like people younger than you and I might say, well, that was 40 years ago. It's not like that now. I say to them, what generation raised you? Are you really that immune? And yeah, I mean, I take a look at, people in power now. A lot of them are raised in privileged households. Some of them during times of segregation.
Uh-huh.
And they're making policy for the United States. I mean, it's just like it takes, probably about 5 or 6 generations for things to be erased, or at least removed, and probably even longer because when slaves were freed in 1860, it's not like it came with wealth.
Right.
It's not like they were all of a sudden middle class.
Right.
They had no generational wealth.
So, but hold on. Let's.
Once again, lots to unpack.
Yeah.
Yeah. But as far as me personally, I mean, yeah, my colleague is probably the one who's affected me the most. I mean, I talk to him every day.
And when did you first hear that story?
Probably about 10 years ago.
About 10 years ago. Okay. Would you say that your view of that particular issue is colored by that story? Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally, 100%.
And
I mean,
like
it's
how,
because I mean I grew up in rural Maryland. Out of a class of 300, I think we had maybe 10 people who were minorities.
Mm-hmm.
It was all white, and the thing is like racism is a sneak thief.
Okay. I hadn't heard it said that way. Can you explain?
You don't know it's there until it's too freaking late. So, I'm always looking to learn about things outside of my own experience, because I know my experience is limited, and I know my point of view is therefore limited.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to trust other people's perspectives, and I guess in the end, it also comes back to middle school.
Okay.
I was very underweight, and middle school is a cruel time anyway. So
Absolutely.
I was definitely bullied, and one thing about being downtrodden is that you look for the downtrodden outside of yourself.
Okay.
And you always want to champion them.
Yeah.
So it's maybe I just have a.
So I think I can. I'm starting to assemble a
see how
here.
empathy is so important to me.
Sure. Yeah.
Especially on a political level.
Yeah. Well, and so let me bring it back to the article. I don't want to. We don't have to dwell too much if you.
Yeah.
But bringing that back, so you start to you talk about. Let me pull up where was it? It says we need an empathy first politics.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can you describe what that looks like to you? What does that mean? Empathy first politics.
this, I guess, kind of brings back the conversation almost full circle.
Uh-huh.
Where I was talking about the structure of how conservatives are me first. You got to take care of yourself first. And liberalism is a little bit more collective. I would really like to see a more collective feel on the right. Vote outside your interests. Try to make the world a better place by helping somebody else with your vote. You know, I'm in a good place financially, primarily because of my wife.
Uh-huh.
And so I have the luxury of putting other people's needs ahead of my own. You know, in terms of generosity and things like that, just general practice. I understand a lot of people are not in that position, especially in this economy. But understanding this economy, if you have the resources, if you're doing okay in a bad economy, maybe you should put somebody else first.
Okay.
You know, think outside of yourself. You know, think of the people who are struggling. Vote what would help them. You know, don't vote for your own 401k if you're on track for retirement. You know, make a difference in the world with your vote. And I think that's really important.
Okay. Well, that kind of brings me to my next question then. And this might take me a second to kind of get to it because I want to give a little bit of background. But there are a lot of people who argue that we can't, for example, tax the wealthy or the rich or the well-to-do more than we do now, or perhaps less than we do now. But that's also kind of like taking the hypothetical to the extreme, right? It's like creating this straw man. So where is the line for you? Like where empathy can take hold? Would you say you're above that line? Would you say I'm above that line? I mean, we have guilty knowledge of each other's situations,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like where certainly I think we could both agree that persons in Elon Musk's position should be the most generous.
Mm-hmm. And the most taxed.
Should a person with a 6-figure salary, 7-figure, like
it's interesting.
What is an empathy first economy?
Well, an empathy first economy, I feel. Well, let's back up to the tax structure. There's one thing I don't like about the tax structure.
Uh-huh.
$1 in Garrett County, Maryland, will go further than $1 in Baltimore
Uh-huh.
or in Columbia. You know, it's the cost of living difference, even though it's the same state, is vastly different. I mean, Garrett County is mountainous. It's rural. Actually, I should go with Allegheny. I'll go with Allegheny because I know Deep Creek is making some parts of Garrett County
That's true.
pretty expensive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll go with Allegheny County, and I really feel that there has to be some sort of cost of living part in the equation of taxation, because, for instance, now it is getting harder and harder to buy a house anywhere in the United States if you make less than $100K a year. And it's so people who make $100K a year, should they be taxed more than people who make $15 an hour, which winds up equating to roughly about $30,000 a year? Probably, yeah. But at 100K a year, you're still, I think, in the bottom 90%. I think you don't leave the bottom 90% until you get to at least, I think it's around 400K. I think it's around 400K a year. I don't know if that's household or individual, but it's I definitely think above 400K we can definitely go a lot more aggressive. But the problem is that there has been and always will be a war between government and business in terms of one regulating the other. They're both trying to regulate each other.
In a sense, yeah.
And business is winning, and has been since it started winning with Reagan, and it's been winning ever since. And as a result, the taxes as far as a percentage go on the rich, and I'm talking as a percentage, on the rich is Warren Buffett pays less in terms of percent of his income than his secretary does. And I do understand in absolute numbers the rich still pay the most dollar amount in taxes, but in terms of percent of what they make, they still pay the least. So and for any Christians, there's a parable about the rich man dropping bags of money into the offering for the temple, and the poor woman giving, a penny. All that she had was just a penny, but it was all that she had. Who gave more? That's what Democrats are really talking about when we want to tax the rich.
Okay. I mean, I think that's that's a fair assessment.
Mm-hmm.
I'll challenge you one last time.
Sure.
I've made this argument myself, but when there are people who take the perspective that if a plane is going down, you're told to put your mask on first, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you've probably heard me make that.
Yep.
I personally probably wouldn't, I wouldn't consider that to be any less empathetic of, like if I need to get my daughter's mask on,
mm-hmm.
like I still need to make sure that I've done my, prepared myself, put myself in a position where I can help my daughter, my son, whoever.
Yeah. But once you're in that position,
yeah,
you do.
Yeah.
So if you are in a position to help others, you should help others.
Yeah. But I think, and like talking about the overall like thrust of your article, like I appreciate the idea that it can be a matter of perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do feel like, probably for the first time in our 4 episodes, we've gotten to a now where we can really kind of like understand your how you developed as a person, how where your personal morals. But I might just disagree that they're any different than, I think your perspective is probably shared by the vast majority of Americans.
I hope so.
Yeah.
And should that be true, I think that shows how damaging tribalism and polarization really is.
Yeah.
Because it goes away from that.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with you there, and I hope anybody listening to this isn't, upset at the characterization if they think that people on the right, Republicans, whatever, think that they're being mischaracterized. I think this really just kind of shows if you disagree with the characterization, then there's really it's maybe just a caricature. I don't know. Yeah. And then we probably agree a whole lot more than.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it really stinks. I'm like, for, like, say, rural farmers. The farm bills that get passed around Washington, most of those monies go to corporate firms.
Yeah.
It's
for as much as we talk about helping out farmers.
Yeah, you're helping out Monsanto.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
You're helping out Kraft. You're helping out
there. Everybody. Yep.
Yep. So I would agree. I think we need to kind of like get back to an era when we really are just supporting from the ground up.
Yeah.
So to speak.
Yep. So.
Anyway. How'd that go?
Pretty good.
Do you have any final thoughts?
I was just wondering if you're going to ask me a question just to throw me off to end the interview.
Oh man, I didn't have one ready.
Darn it!
I know. I gotta like prepare these.
It's like
a bank of ourselves.
All right. So once again, this is the Ascendant Project, and if you like what you hear, please subscribe, so that way you get a digest every week, which is usually about one post long, in your email. That's about it.
Yep.
Please please comment, please feel free to contact me at editor@theascendantproject.com.
Yep.
And yes, please engage, and we are always looking for different views.
Yep.
That's about it.
All right, cool.
And stop.